I have gone through the first 4 chapters of Poppy Playtime, which means I'm more or less about halfway done with the game. Upon further research, however, it turns out there is way more to the story. When it comes to the Playtime Co. iceberg, at our current point in the game, we're about at the surface of the water, if not a bit higher. And that got me thinking, what lies beneath the water? And to answer that question, we must rewind to the very start. Playtime Co. was a company that turned orphaned children into life-size living toys. The company itself was founded by a man by the name of Elliot Ludwig, with the first toy created, Poppy Playtime, as a memorial to his deceased daughter. As it turns out, Poppy Playtime is Ludwig's deceased daughter. That's right, the Poppy Playtime we've been sidekicking this whole time, that's Elliot Ludwig's deceased daughter. How is this possible, you ask? We don't know. She doesn't know. Even Elliot doesn't know. But this sparked the interest of a man by the name of Harley Sawyer. In order to cancel out the company's current lawsuits, Sawyer came up with the idea of turning orphans into giant living toys. Elliot accepted this idea and tasked one of the higher-ups of the company, Stella Graber, with creating an on-site orphanage called Playcare along with the game station. Game Station was designed to test the ability of the orphans and see which toy they would be most fitting as. After a few years, the company successfully created 4 bigger body experiments to aid in certain parts of the factory. Mommy Longlegs, Catnap, Huggy Wuggy, and Boxy Boo. Mommy Longlegs served as the game station's host, making sure the orphans didn't cheat or get lost. Catnap served as the caretaker of the orphans down in Playcare, putting them to sleep with his red smoke so the bigger body's initiative could get to work. Huggy Wuggy and Boxy Boo were created as security measures, with Huggy Wuggy being the main security and Boxy Boo being the disposal of lower-level employees who knew too much. However, there was a 5th experiment who we haven't covered yet, who was created by Harley Sawyer before the bigger body's initiative even began. As you probably guessed, this experiment is the prototype. Now, I just want to point out that this is a fan-made model, so this isn't what he's going to look like, but I feel like it's going to be pretty darn close. On August 8th, 1995, at precisely 11 a.m., the prototype incited a massive rebellion known as the Hour of Joy that led to the deaths of most Playtime Co. scientists and employees, forcing the higher-up employees to flee the factory. Once the event had concluded, the experiments dragged the corpses of the deceased employees to the deepest reaches of the factory and consumed them to survive. After the incident, the sudden disappearance of all the employees led to the closure of Playtime Co., though it remains unclear if any investigation was ever launched. Laith Pierre, one of the higher-ups and the general asshole character of the game, sent in resource extraction specialists to collect the toy parts and the puzzle pillars, while the prototype sent savage monsters such as Huggy Wuggy, Mommy Longlegs, and Boxy Boo to stop them and use their bodies to feed the experiments who were beginning to starve around the factory, such as the Wuggies and the ruined critters. Eventually, Playtime Co. stopped sending in resource extraction specialists, bringing the bigger body's initiative to a close. This left the experiments without a steady source of food. Though the prototype didn't require sustenance to survive, the other toys could only survive on larger portions of food. The monsters, now desperate and out of options, began to consume the smaller toys to survive. Any spare toys or toy parts that the monsters left behind were grafted onto the prototype, which revived them. This method kept the malnourished experiments alive for a decade until the eventual return of the player in 2005. This is where the game officially starts. Chapter 1 starts off with a letter being sent to the player saying that the people who've been said to have disappeared are still in the factory waiting for someone to find them. The player, or in this case, me, returns to the factory in search of their hiding spot. Upon first entering the factory, I came across a grab pack with only a blue left hand. It's not ideal, but it will suffice for now. I proceeded to use the grab pack to open the main door, and the first thing I saw was Huggy Wuggy waving at me. Proceeding through the factory, I came across a red right hand for my grab pack. This allowed me to open up more doors to the factory. I eventually came across this toy maker I had to use in order to get an item that allowed me to progress to the next room. Apparently Huggy was waiting on the other side of the door the whole time, which meant that I had to escape through the vents. Yeah, given that Huggy technically has no joints, he can fit pretty much anywhere. Luckily, I managed to escape and stop Huggy before he could crush me. Ain't no way he's surviving that, right? Oh, hey, look, the flower from the letter. Let's see what's inside.
Poppy! I found you! Let's open this. Oh.
You opened my case.
Chapter 2 immediately throws you back in where we left off in Chapter 1. As it turns out, there was a door hidden behind a bookcase to the left when you first entered the room. The door led to a very extensive hallway that eventually led up to Elliot Ludwig's office. I had to unlock the door using a key in the shape of a poppy that I found in a room further down the hall. After that, I had no idea what I was supposed to do next. Turns out you had to yank the vents open and go into the back room.
Sorry.
Oh, there you are.
I didn't mean to scare you. I was just trying to get the power back on.
Once you get the power back on, Poppy kindly applauds you and promises to help you get out of the factory.
Aw, thanks.
I wanted to thank you for freeing me. I was stuck in there for so long. Thank you.
Welcome.
I'd like to pay you back. There's a train station nearby. It needs a code, and I have it. We're gonna get out of here.
With the power back on, I could now open the door on the left of Ludwig's office. This led to a room where Poppy was standing in front of a giant hole in the ground.
What's this giant hole doing here?
Listen, I'm going to need you to trust me.
Hey!
To save Poppy, I had to jump down the giant hole. Turns out it was a slide leading to Game Station, where it could only be opened with a red right grab pack hand.
A new playmate!
Meet Mommy Longlegs, host of Game Station and the one who doll-napped Poppy. Due to her lack of company over the past 10 years, she is eager to play with you, promising to give you the code to the train if you win. On the way to the first game, I came across a molding room where I made myself a new right hand, this time in green. Along with this new color, the green hand came with its own gimmick, allowing electrical puzzles to be done without wires. To an extent, that is. Anyways, the first game I had to play was called Musical Memory. As its name suggests, it's a memory game where you have to memorize a sequence of colors and input them in the same order before Bunzo Bunny gets you. Now, given the gift of photographic memory, I was able to complete the game with relative ease. However, on the final round, the game starts glitching out, forcing you to press the kill button. Mommy Longlegs then gives you the first part of the train code and sends you back on your way to Game Station.
What?
Yeah, so apparently we can't go back the way we came, so I had to take the long way back, during which I had to complete this puzzle where I had to take a very cursed version of Brawn off an elevator using a crane. I eventually made it back to Game Station and was rewarded with playing one of the hardest challenges in the entire game. This second game was called Whack-A-Wuggy. In case it weren't obvious enough, it's literally just whack-a-mole but with mini-huggies instead of moles. However, Whack-A-Wuggy is significantly more difficult given that it's extremely dark and you die if you miss just one. I literally had to crank the brightness settings on my monitor to max just so I could see where the mini-huggies were coming from. I eventually managed to fend off all the mini-huggies, and Mommy Longlegs rewarded me with the second part of the train code. However, just like Musical Memory, I had to take the long way back to Game Station, during which I had to complete a puzzle that involved pushing this cart around named Barry to open the way. Also, whilst completing the puzzle, I came across an old friend.
It's a lever. Huggy? That you? Uh-oh. Is that Huggy? Oh no, that's Kissy. Hey, Kissy Bissy. Nice to see you. What you doing? Hi. Oh, the lever. What are you gonna do? Oh, jeez.
The reason why I ran away was because I didn't know if she was trying to help me or murder me at the time. Moving right along, the third and final game I had to play was a one-to-one recreation of red light green light from Squid Games called Statues. The goal of the game was to make it to the other side of the room before PJ Pug or Pillar could kill you, with the only twist being you're not allowed to move while the lights are on. This actually makes the game impossible to beat due to the other end of the room being caved in. Having no other choice, I had to escape through the watchtower, which obviously made Mommy Longlegs pretty upset. Trying to find another way back to Game Station, I had to go through this water treatment plant where I had to get a Bunzo Bunny toy to progress.
You and I were meant to be!
I then continued my quest to find my way back to Game Station. Unfortunately, Mommy Longlegs found her way to me first.
Oh, jeez!
I asked you to play fair, and you cheated! I hate cheaters! Now, we're going to play one last game!
Oh, jeez. What's happening?
Hide and seek!
Oh, jeez. He's gone.
None.
This entire sequence was probably the scariest thing I have ever done. I had to complete a wide plethora of puzzles all the while Mommy Longlegs was hunting me down, meaning that I had to find a place to hide whenever she showed up. After completing all the puzzles and almost shitting myself twice, I got access to the lever that activated the emergency exit. This chase sequence was definitely the scariest part of the entire thing. I had to dodge and weave through falling obstacles and grabby hands all the while Mommy Longlegs was chasing me down. I managed to escape to the emergency exit where I had to open up one final door.
Oh, crap. Crap, she's coming. Hurry up!
What have you done? You make me part of you! You can't do this to me!
Shortly afterwards, a mysterious mechanical hand reaches underneath a malfunctional door and takes Mommy Longlegs' corpse. I then finally made it back to Game Station where I found Poppy stuck in a web along with the final part of the train code. We then boarded the train to leave the factory, but at the last second, Poppy switched the train to go deeper into the factory, causing the train to reach a dangerously high speed. I tried pulling the emergency brake, but all that did was derail the train, causing me to black out, and the last thing I saw was a sign reading Play Care. Chapter 3 is by far the longest of the 4 chapters. It starts off with you waking up only to find out you're being carried by something into a giant garbage disposal. I managed to escape before getting crushed, and the first thing I hear is a telephone ringing. There's a phone. I eventually found the telephone, and there was a voice of a kid named Ollie on the other line.
My name is Ollie.
He helped me get back to the train, only to find it completely destroyed, which meant that the only choice I had was to take a cable car that's apparently named Elliot's Express. This took me directly into the remains of the Play Care orphanage. Upon first entering, Ollie gives me a key to the gas production zone. Inside, I found a Grab Pack 2.0 with a new purple hand that allowed me to jump super high without taking fall damage. Ollie instructed me to get all the red smoke into the leftmost chamber so we could access the lower levels of the factory. But before I could, the creature that threw me into the garbage disposal earlier cut the power to the whole place. In order to get the power back on, Ollie told me to turn on the backup power in all the buildings, starting with Home Sweet Home. Home Sweet Home was where the orphans lived, and as unsurprising as it sounds, the place was empty, with the only thing inside being the red smoke. As it turns out, the red smoke is actually a sleep gas, but in reality, all it does is make people hallucinate and give people nightmares. And that's exactly what it did to me. I popped in a VHS tape, and the first thing I saw was Huggy Wuggy smiling at me. But as the VHS went on, the dialogue got more and more dark, and Huggy Wuggy's face became more and more nightmarish. It was at this point I realized I couldn't move nor look away from the screen. Suddenly, the Huggy Wuggy from the VHS crawls out of the screen and kills me. Or so I thought. That entire sequence was just me under the influence of the red smoke, meaning it was just a dream. I woke up in an entirely different area in the building and found a gas mask shortly afterwards. This made me immune to the red smoke for as long as I was wearing it. I then spent the next hour or so completing a stupidly long puzzle in order for me to escape. And as soon as I stepped out of the building, Kissy Missy grabbed me and pinned me down to the ground.
No! Let go! They didn't do anything wrong. They're actually here
This part showed that both Poppy and Kissy were allies, which made me feel more comfortable throughout the game. Upon turning the lights back on, Ollie instructed me to head to the school next. Ollie couldn't contact me on that side of the play care, so I was pretty much just all alone, or so it seemed.
This is Miss Delight speaking. Please excuse the interruption. Students, remain in your seat until the bell has rung. And no going in the halls without a hall pass.
Meet Miss Delight. Just like Mommy Longlegs, Miss Delight has gone insane after years of neglect, with her only company being a makeshift morning star named Barb. Miss Delight functions exactly like a weeping angel, being that she only moves when you're not looking at her. Her boss fight requires you to insert multiple batteries into multiple locations before ending the boss fight by crushing her under a door. Upon exiting the school, I came across a unique grab pack hand that functioned as a flare gun. Moving further along, I found myself in an extensive cave system that led straight to the playhouse. Ollie insisted that I didn't go in, but I had no other choice. Upon entering the playhouse, we are immediately being stalked by ruined versions of the Smiling Critters. The Smiling Critters were a series of uniquely scented toys that had their own respective TV show to go with them.
S-M-I-L-E every day! When you are down and out, no need to frown and pout. The Smiling Critters here to say S-M-I-L-E every day!
There are 8 Smiling Critters in total. Bubba Bubbaphant, Bobby Bearhug, Crafty Corn, Kickin' Chicken, Dog Day, Picky Piggy, Hoppy Hopscotch, and Catnap, each with their own unique sense and personalities. To stop them from attacking, all I had to do was shoot them with the flare gun. Journeying further into the playhouse, I found the remains of Dog Day, who was somehow still alive. Dog Day was the leader of the Smiling Critters, but now he's all tied up and missing his lower half. He reveals that the creature behind the power outage was Catnap, and that he believes the prototype is his savior. But before Dog Day can finish talking, all the ruined critters crawl inside Dog Day and take over his body. I managed to narrowly escape, marking the second building off my list, which meant that the only building I had left was the counselor's office. The counselor's office is the place Catnap patrols the most, and given the sheer amount of red smoke in the area, it's not hard to believe. I ended up doing more puzzles until I was met with a very unpleasant surprise.
Oh, jeez!
Catnap knocked off my mask, causing me to hallucinate even more, but as soon as I woke up, all the red smoke had disappeared somehow. I finally managed to get the main generator working, producing a big blue battery for the gas production zone, but before I could insert the battery, Catnap appeared and spread red smoke everywhere, causing my hallucinations to give him an even more terrifying appearance. This led to what is possibly the most stressful boss fight in the entire game. You had to collect batteries to power up an extremely dangerous electric charge for the green hand while stopping Catnap from reaching you. Once you charge the green hand with the electric charge, Catnap will drop through a trapdoor in the ceiling, forcing you to use the electric charge on him, leading to possibly the best animation in the game. When Catnap finally puts himself out, the mechanical hand from Chapter 2 will reach down to Catnap through the trapdoor. Catnap then scrambled up and started worshipping the hand, revealing that the hand belongs to none other than the prototype himself. Ironically, the prototype straight up kills Catnap instead of saving him and hoists him up into the trapdoor. Little did I know that this got rid of my green hand in the process, leaving me with the purple hand and the flare gun. With Catnap out of the way, I could finally get the red smoke into the leftmost chamber, granting us access to the lower levels. Before I could go, Poppy informed me about the Hour of Joy and why all the orphans and employees went missing. Kissy Missy then enters the room and opens the lift to the lower levels. Poppy and I took the elevator, but then Kissy started getting attacked by something bad.
Once we hit the ground, we need to be cautious. There's something... What? What's she doing? No! No! We're coming! Just hold on! Come on, go faster! Missy!
Chapter 4 immediately throws you back in, with Poppy telling you to follow the red smoke. This eventually leads to you getting in a train car and meeting the overarching antagonist of the game, Harley Sawyer. After the train stopped, I found myself in some kind of prison. Upon further investigation, I found a dead employee with a red grab pack hand. Now I can open red doors again.
The subject scrambles for an advantage. They appear lost and disoriented. Heavy breathing is indicative of fear. And rightly so. Let's test the response to said fear when pushed into action.
Sawyer then ambushed me with mini Huggies and a group of toys similar in appearance to the smiling critters called the Nightmare Critters. Anyway, Sawyer eventually gives up and lets me leave. I then enter a room almost identical to the previous room, and Sawyer ambushes me again, this time with red smoke. So I quickly fixed up the gas leak and entered through a couple of malfunctioning doors into a chamber-like area. Sawyer then unleashes Yarnaby upon me, but I managed to escape into a very small office-like room with a single door requiring a green keycard to open. Upon inserting the keycard, we enter a room where we get to meet the best character in the game, introducing Pianosaurus. I'm just kidding, the actual best character is the one behind him. Who's there? Oh dear.
Now that hit the spot. I haven't eaten in weeks.
Introducing Doughy is one of my favorite characters of all time, and after doing further research on him, I feel like I like him even more. As it turns out, this guy is actually 3 orphans in one bigger body, and each one of them is reflected through Doughy's actions and emotions. The first of the 3 is Matthew Hallard. Matthew's personality shines the most amongst the 3. Being the oldest, he was described as a dream child, being kind-hearted and considerate of others, to the point that younger children of Playcare see him as a role model. In Doughy, he shines when he has to guide survivors inside the safe haven as their leader. Although put in a stressful situation himself, he always presents himself as strong and reliable and giving hope to the survivors, becoming their moral support as well. However, he also possessed many insecurities due to trauma from an accident that killed his family. The second orphan is Kevin Barnes. Kevin was a child with behavioral issues who acted aggressively, one who could turn on even his friends in a fit of rage or intense emotion. While Doughy mostly keeps himself level-headed, being put in more pressing situations will cause his temper to rise extremely high, which was concerning. When Poppy admitted having unintentionally led the prototype into their lair, Doughy can be briefly seen almost lashing out at her before swiftly cooling himself down.
Not just something. It's him. He's out there.
You brought him down?
And finally, the third orphan is Jack Ayers. He's the only one of the 3 we actually get to see, being the kid in the intro VHS tape. Jack was the most innocent and playful child of the 3, and had a small Doughy the Dough Man figurine as his favorite toy. He fell by accident into the dough processing machines, and the Playcare scientists will proceed to add him into Project Doughy, even if to save his life, separating him from his parents for good. Jack's longing for his parents and normal life is often reflected in Doughy's anguished cries, calling out to his mother and father and wishing to go back home in times of inconsolable mental breakdowns with things to go awry. Anyways, Doughy saves us from Pianosaurus and has us follow him to the safe haven. I was a few steps away from safe haven when Kissy Missy, now badly damaged, pulled me aside for the prototype wasn't far behind. Now we get to see what he looks like other than just his hand. Turns out the prototype has spider legs, but if you use cheats to no-clip through, you'll discover that it's just a shadow, so the prototype's appearance still remains a mystery. Poppy, Kissy, and I sneak our way into the safe haven, where Doughy instructs me to kill Harley Sawyer. In order to do so, I had to go through 2 bosses, Yarnaby and Baba Chops. Yarnaby's boss fight is basically just door 50 indoors, and ends with yet another chase sequence where I killed Yarnaby by setting it on fire. Baba Chops' boss fight is probably the most tedious of the 2, being that you have to navigate through a labyrinth of cages and turn on the power all the while Baba Chops is chasing you. The most annoying part was having to listen to this the whole time. Afterwards, the game forces you to kill Simon Smoke, along with Sawyer's liver and lungs. Now it's finally time to face Dr. Harley Sawyer. As revealed by a VHS I found, Sawyer was also an experiment from the Bigger Bodies Initiative, and has been proven true, as the first thing I see is his brain connected to some sort of hive mind. Suddenly, a robot grabs me and throws me into a pit filled to the brim with multiple of the same robot. As it turns out, these are reserve bodies that Sawyer can use without having to expose or risk his real body, as if he still had one. The boss fight was pretty underwhelming, as all it required you to do was insert a couple batteries before the reserve bodies could kill you. You then finish off the boss fight by overloading Sawyer's system and taking out his motherboard. Using Sawyer's motherboard, you unlock a new grab pack hand called the Omni Hand, which is said to only have been used by the highest ranking employees in the company. After returning to Safe Haven, Poppy had me fix the Haven's generator, all the while Dowie was fending off the prototype. After fixing the generator, I could now proceed with Poppy's plan.
The red smoke you redirected from Playcare? It's an accelerant. All it needs is high pressure and a little spark, and it ignites. Plan is this. We'll fill the foundation with smoke and line it with old mining charges. Then once you, me, and Kissy have freed the orphans, our friends here will blow this place sky high.
However, whilst doing so, I got ambushed by the nightmare critters again, but managed to escape and ran into Dowie again.
Prototype. I lost track of him in the tunnels. Have you seen him? Was he at the Foundation? Or was he... What? What's going on? He's... I let him away, didn't I? The generator's fine. It's...
Yeah, that wasn't supposed to happen yet. Upon returning to Safe Haven, I found the place completely destroyed, along with Dowie mourning the loss of all the lives of those who dwell within. And in this cutscene, we see all of Dowie's personalities in action.
Sorry. I'm so sorry. I failed you. I was never what any of you needed. I was only made to hurt things. My fault. Hurt. Everything hurts. Hurt back. Always hurt back. Parents, scientists, everyone have to. My friends. He killed my friends. It all started with you. You and her. It was you who ruined everything! No, that's not true. They jump-started the generator. They destroyed everything! I'll kill you!
Dowie? Emerging from the rubble, Dowie reveals his final form and starts chasing me down. This is because Kevin has taken complete control of Dowie, meaning there's nothing stopping him from releasing his rage upon me and Poppy. Having no other choice, I had to kill him. Dowie's boss fight has to be my favorite in the entire game, as it has a cool boss arena as well as interesting and well-made mechanics. Dowie has 3 main attacks. He will either grab you with his hands, requiring you to shoot him with the flare gun for him to release you. His second attack has him reach through the ground and attack you from below, and his third attack involves him climbing the giant crane in the center of the arena and spitting spikes at you. However, the way you defeat Doughy is probably my favorite gimmick. If you shoot one of these liquid nitrogen canisters, it'll explode, and doing so while Doughy is next to it will cause him to freeze. Doughy can also pick up these canisters, which allows you to freeze him anywhere in the arena. However, the way you attack him comes in the form of these saw machines. If you freeze Doughy while he's underneath one of them, pulling the saw down on him will make him take damage. However, this comes at a cost of the saw becoming disabled, meaning you have to use a different saw every attack. After successfully sawing Doughy 3 times, he will dissolve into a pile of dough, allowing you to progress to the next room.
You and Poppy! It's all your fault! Want to kill you! Kill everyone who hurts me!
I'm sorry, Doughy.
Can't trust anyone! The gentle voices lie! You lie! I'm trying to be better, to be who they needed. Not smart enough, not good enough, not... I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry too. I met up with Poppy and Kissy shortly afterwards, where Poppy was desperately trying to contact Ollie on the phone.
Ollie! Ollie! You hear me? Ollie! You! What did you do? Why did you kill Doughy? Do you even understand what happened? The prototype, Did you even plant the explosives? Ollie! Ollie, answer me! Please. Ollie! Something's gone horribly wrong. The safe haven...
Shelf ventilation block B6. Is this where you are, Poppy?
What?
Stay where you are.
And listen closely. You're not going to run. You're not going to fight. The charade is over.
Who is this?
An obvious question with an obvious answer.
You. What did you do with Ollie?
I'm right here, Poppy.
For you,
I'll always
be here.
The doctor, Catnap, Mommy and Huggy, they're all dead. You have nothing now. No one. And soon, you'll have less than that.
Stop that.
You don't need to pretend anymore.
Poppy. You don't need to play at being stronger than you are.
You can
Come home.
How much do you know?
Everything.
This isn't right. All those years. Was there ever an Ollie?
Yes, there was.
But that was a very long time ago. Let me tell you what comes next.
I'm going to
Come up there.
and I'm going to
Find you. Your collaborators. The few you have left, they will be dealt with.
What are you going to do with me?
I've got something special in mind.
I prepared it just for you.
And this one, you will never want to leave.
No. No, no, no. This entire time, you've lied to me!
Only because you've kept
Missing the point.
I've liberty of retrieving those explosives from the Foundation. Thanks for collecting.
Those, by the way, I've put them to good use. I admit, though, I'm disappointed.
After all that time in your case, I'd hoped you'd see things
Differently, don't you understand?
It's always been about you.
And we're hobby. What we are. That's not a truth that can be brought away. No, not when it can mean so much more.
Prototype. Please.
It's time to come home.
Hobby.
It's time to come home.
I can't go back in the case. I can't. I'm sorry.
Wait a
Some
minute.
friend, huh?
Don't worry, I'll find her.
As for you two, try to land on your feet.
Uh-oh. In case you didn't catch the plot twist, Ollie was actually the prototype the whole time, and we unknowingly played ourselves into his own hands. However, Poppy was somewhat correct in saying he had almost nothing left, as I have thrashed every threat he's thrown at me, so you can imagine the sheer shock I experienced when I peeked through this window and was met by... Huggy?! So what comes next in this doozy of an indie horror game? Well, that's up to Mob Entertainment to decide, but that can't stop me from theorizing what could happen. Obviously, Huggy Wuggy is going to be one of, if not the main threat of Chapter 5, given that Chapter 4 ended with him aggressively banging on my door. I honestly feel that the game is going to have the same ending as Halo Reach, where literally everyone dies except for that one character who chickens out. Speaking of the ending, it got me curious of what the final boss would be like, and I can see Mob Entertainment pulling it off the same way as the Joy of Creation, where you're trying to stop the prototype, but something else serves as the main threat. If I had to guess, that threat would be Boxy Boo, as he's the only one we haven't seen outside of Project Playtime, and is specifically designed to kill employees. Now, I could be completely wrong, and I probably am, but it certainly is a valid possibility nonetheless. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. So that was my journey so far to completing Poppy Playtime. If you like this video, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new. See ya!